Most YouTubers are very pessimistic about the future of Fiat. How come this time should be different than 1920, 1970 crash? Or so we, this time around, can't recover? Or are they all wrong? So there's just a whole bunch of interesting stuff happening. One is the mountain of debt, the $300 trillion of debt. Governments for many years now have been accelerating the ability to print money, therefore accumulating more debt. And we saw last week how the debt cards are beginning to shuffle. We'll talk more about, again, some of the problems in the world today. But first of all, let's go back in history. For those who may not know, you mentioned the Great Depression and the 1970s crash, i.e. 1920s, 1970s. Every 50 years, something bad seems to happen. By the way, add 1920 plus 50 equals 1970. Add 50 plus 1970 equals 2020. Here we are. But what each of these events brought about, first, the Great Depression was brought about by, World War I, etc. That created a new financial system. Bretton Woods, World War II happened. Inflation at that time got so bad with economies that most of the Western countries destroyed due to the war had to create a brand new system. This is Bretton Woods, and where all countries would peg their currencies to the dollar, and the US dollar would be backed by gold. That'll happen in 1950. Now, in addition, some other stuff happened about 20 years later. Let's look at the 1970s. This crash caused the rest of the world to realize the US government's deficit spending had gotten so bad that there wasn't enough gold that backed the dollars that the US government was printing. And one by one, countries started to redeem their US dollars. I think France sent a warship to New York to pick up their gold. And Nixon had to put a stop to this. And he suspended the convertibility of the dollar to gold. Boom. There goes Bretton Woods. Bam. Literally overnight or in the space of a few hours. And it created the monetary system today, where the dollar is a global reserve currency that's backed by nothing. Okay? And there was a lot of other sidebar arrangements done around the black money stuff called oil, and how defense was exchanged for supplies of oil, etc. But now let's go to this. This is the real issue. This time, it won't be different. As you can see, in many of our examples, the existing monetary systems at the time didn't survive. Each time, governments ended the existing system and replaced it with a new system. So the answer to your question is yes, this time won't be different. This next crash, we're going to see the end of the dollar-based system. Central banks are going to try convert to a US central bank digital currency system through the Great Reset. And the plans for the Great Reset and the building of central bank digital currencies show that not even central banks believe that the current system is going to last much longer. Hence, what we call the arms race. This is Ida Auken. We have a lot of people in Scandinavia. She's a member of Parliament of Denmark and also a proud member of the World Economic Forum. And everything is going to be fantastic in 2030. You will have nothing and you'll have no privacy. But you know what? Life will never be better. How do we get some of that? Well, it's happening. Even we saw last week the Australian central bank was wiped out, completely liquid. But they were lucky. They could print their way out of their problem. So it's like when you sit back and look at all the stuff breaking before our eyes, it is flabbergasting. But we can't say it wasn't expected. What is expected is the pace of change of how things are breaking. And we're going to talk about that next.